The Battle of Arnhem saw Friedrich Wilhelm Freiherr von Bülow's Prussian corps fight an Imperial French division under Henri François Marie Charpentier at Arnhem. Attacking under the cover of fog, the Prussians broke into the city at several points and forced the French to retreat to Nijmegen after hard fighting in this war of the Sixth Coalition clash. Arnhem is a city in the Netherlands located on the Rhine River 100 kilometers southeast of Amsterdam. In late November 1813, Bülow's 3rd Prussian Corps invaded the Netherlands, sparking a Dutch rebellion against the French. Marshal Jacques Macdonald, commanding the defending French 11th Corps, ordered Charpentier to evacuate Arnhem, but the general chose to ignore his instructions and suffered a defeat. After winning the battle, Bülow continued west in order to liberate Utrecht and support the Dutch revolt. The Prussian general's forces were soon joined by a British expedition led by Thomas Graham, 1st Baron Lindic. Nevertheless, friction between the Prussians and the Russian and Swedish allies resulted in a pause in the effort to liberate Holland and Belgium from the French background. The coalition armies decisively defeated Emperor Napoleon at the Battle of Leipzig on 16–19 October 1813. The French emperor employed 203,133 soldiers and 738 field guns, while his coalition foes massed 361,942 men and 1,456 artillery pieces. Napoleon's forces lost 2,893 officers and 43,500 rank and file killed and wounded, while 8,000 wounded, 15,000 sick and 15,000 unwounded were taken prisoner. Allied casualties numbered 1,792 officers and 51,982 men. Of Napoleon's enormous army, only 80,000 escaped west over the Saale River. The rest were dead, wounded, captured or defected to the coalition. By the time the French emperor withdrew to the west bank of the Rhine River in November, there were only 60,000–70,000 soldiers left to defend France, with approximately 100,000 more besieged in German fortresses. The major coalition powers were not all in agreement about what to do next. Tsar Alexander I of Russia wanted to capture Paris and remove Napoleon from power, though some of his generals thought they had already shed enough Russian blood. King Friedrich William III of Prussia usually sided with the Tsar, while his subjects wanted revenge against France. Emperor Francis I of Austria was wary of the overthrow of Napoleon because he feared the expansion of Russian and Prussian influence. Weary of financially supporting the coalition, Great Britain wanted a permanent peace. The Swedish regent Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, a former Marshal of France, was believed to be secretly plotting to secure the throne of France for himself. Napoleon appointed his brother Louis Bonaparte to the Kingdom of Holland in May 1806. However, on the 9th of July 1810, the French emperor extinguished the kingdom and annexed the Netherlands to the First French Empire. The Dutch contributed only 17,300 soldiers to Napoleon's armies in 1811 to 1813, but the severe casualties in the French invasion of Russia shocked the population. Since the trade was badly damaged by Napoleon's continental system, the Dutch people were ready to throw off the French yoke. In early November, Russian Corps Commander Ferdinand von Winsingerode sent a 3,500-man strike corps led by Alexander Christoforovich Benkendorf into Holland. Benkendorf's force of Don Cossacks, regular cavalry and infantry was soon joined by 8 additional Cossack regiments. The Dutch rebellion first broke out in Amsterdam on 14–15 November. Depressed by the loss of his son in Russia, the French civil leader Charles-François Lebrun, Duc de Plaisance, responded ineffectively to the crisis. By the 19th of November, the revolt leaders formed a provisional government until the House of Orange-Nassau could be restored to power. On the 13th of November, Friedrich Wilhelm Freiherr von Bülow's 3rd Prussian Corps advanced west from Minden toward the Dutch border. To defend against this threat, Marshal Jacques MacDonald deployed the 11th Corps and 2nd Cavalry Corps along the Rhine, from Andernach to Wesel, to assist Gabriel Jean-Joseph Molitor's weak forces in Holland. MacDonald quickly organized a 2,000-man task force under François-Pierre Joseph Amy to help defend the Rhine downstream from Wesel. MacDonald began shifting his forces north to defend the lower Rhine. The French were weakened by the desertion of the foreign battalions and were compelled to form infantry and cavalry units from customs agents and mounted gendarmes. Aside from contributing the raiding forces, Winsingerode's corps remained largely stationary in Germany. By the end of November, MacDonald redistributed his forces into 3 groups. On the left wing were 10,000 troops in Henri François Marie Charpentier's 31st Division, the 2nd Cavalry Corps and Amy's flying column. These were tasked to defend the Rhine, Meuse, Waal and Isle rivers. The centre counted 6,000 men from Michel Sylvestre Breyer's 35th Division near Wesel, while the 7,500-strong right wing consisted of the 5th Corps and 3rd Cavalry Corps. Bülow's corps numbered 19,172 foot soldiers and 6,240 horsemen, organized in 4 infantry and 3 brigades. The infantry contingent included the 3rd Brigade under Karl Heinrich von Zielinski, 4th Brigade led by Heinrich Ludwig August von Thummin, 5th Brigade commanded by Karl Heinrich Ludwig von Borstel and 6th Brigade directed by Karl August Adolf von Kraft. Adolf Friedrich von Oppen commanded cavalry brigades led by Karl Alexander Wilhelm von Trescott, Karl Friedrich Bernhard Helmuth von Hoeb and Hans Joachim Friedrich von Sydow. Karl Friedrich von Holzendorf directed the corps artillery, pioneers and wagon train. In round numbers, Bülow commanded 30,000 soldiers and 96 field guns. The Army of Bohemia under Karl Philipp, Prince of Schwarzenberg, did not cross the Rhine until the 20th of December 1813, while the Army of Silesia under Gebhard Lebrecht von Blücher crossed the river on the 1st of January 1814 and Winsingerode on the 6th of January. After Leipzig, Bernadotte took his army to North Germany, intending to defeat the Kingdom of Denmark and force it to hand over Norway to Sweden. Though impatient to invade Holland, Bülow was unable to secure permission to do so until Great Britain put pressure on the Prussian government. In the meantime, Borstel's 5th Brigade was sent to blockade the fortress of Wesel. On the 23rd of November, Bülow's 3,000-man advance guard led by Oppen invaded Holland and arrived before Duisburg on the Isle. The town had been seized by Cossacks but later recovered by Amy's task force. Oppen stormed Duisburg without much trouble, capturing 112 French soldiers. On the 24th of November, Bülow's forces secured the surrender of Zutphen, the same day that Bankendorf's force reached Amsterdam. Also on the 24th, Oppen drove Amy's column from Velp to Arnhem in a running skirmish battle. After finding the French defending an entrenched camp outside Arnhem, Oppen withdrew to Velp, leaving a screen of outposts. The French attacked Oppen's pickets on the 26th of November, temporarily forcing them back to Velp. Later in the day, Oppen was reinforced by Sydow with 3 Landwehr cavalry regiments and 2 Fusilier battalions and Friedrich August Peter von Columbus, Streikorps. On the 28th of November, Kraft's brigade arrived, giving up in 12 infantry battalions and 3 artillery batteries. At first the Prussian wanted to attack Arnhem, but he was dissuaded by the nearby movement of enemy troops and artillery and intelligence that 3,000–4,000 French troops defended the city. MacDonald hoped to patch together a defensive line using Molitor's troops. 3,000 French National Guards under Antoine-Guillaume Rampont Garinchem and the 11th Corps. The French Marshal and Charpentier reached Arnhem on the 28th of November with 2,500 men from Jean-Baptiste Simon Marie's 2nd Brigade of the 31st Division, plus 1 battalion of Auguste Julien Bigray's 1st Brigade. MacDonald decided that Arnhem was not defensible against a numerically greater force and returned to Nijmegen, leaving Charpentier and 4,000 troops to hold the city. On the morning of the 29th of November, the French began shelling the Prussian positions from artillery pieces sighted on the south bank of the Rhine. Oppen soon launched a heavy assault on the French entrenched camp, but after initial success the Prussians were driven back. Charpentier then launched a counterattack and drove Oppen's troops back to Velp. A second attack at noon overran a Prussian outpost at Lichtenbeekhaus, inflicting 50 casualties. Amy reinforced the French positions outside the entrenched camp, fearing that MacDonald might launch an attack from Arnhem against his supply line. Bülow ordered Oppen to assault Arnhem the following morning. That day MacDonald returned to Arnhem and saw the size of the Prussian force. He deduced that he would soon face superior forces at Arnhem and that Charpentier was in danger of being trapped. Learning that Molitor abandoned Utrecht and realizing that holding the line of the IJssel was hopeless, MacDonald knew that there was no longer a good reason to hold Arnhem. He instructed Charpentier to withdraw his troops from the city and then return to Nijmegen. For unknown reasons, Charpentier defied his superior's orders and remained in Arnhem on the morning the 30th of November. In an even greater blunder, he failed to post sentries at the city gates. Meanwhile, Bülow arrived in the pre-dawn darkness and personally organized a 5-column attack. The operation was delayed by a blanket of fog during which the Prussians heard horses and wagons crossing the Rhine bridge. Columbia's Streikorps plus 2 extra battalions and 2 guns were to attack on the far left flank. William Ernst von Zastrow led 2 columns on the right flank under Majors Zelenitzky and Schmidt. Zelenitzky was directed to attack a large redoubt near the Rhine Gate, while Schmidt's command assembled a 2-beak and assaulted the Rhine Gate. Oppen commanded the 2 left-center columns which were directed against the northern Jans Gate and the northeastern Velp Gate. After breaking through the gate, each column was ordered to divide into 3 sections, the first to guard the gate, the second to help outflank the adjacent gate, and the third to press ahead into the city. The Liebe Hussars and to land where cavalry regiments were held back in order to repulse a French sortie. As the fog lifted, Oppen gave the order for all columns to attack at 11 a.m. Shortly before this time, 4 battalions of Thumann's brigade arrived and were used to reinforce the attacking columns. The first assault against the entrenched camp failed, but a second charge drove Marie's 4 battalions back into the city. Because Charpentier was unable to grasp where the Prussians were attacking, the French reaction was slow and ineffective. One Prussian column rapidly seized the Velp Gate, which was defended by a few soldiers. Columbia's horse artillery blew open the Sabelport Gate, while the Jans Gate also fell quickly. The 3 Prussian eastern columns burst into the city and rushed one of the 2 inner gates. These easy seizures were the result of Charpentier concentrating most of his troops on the western side of the city. Led by a battalion of the Kolberg Regiment, Zelenitzky's column stormed the redoubt while Schmidt's men scaled the city wall despite being enfiladed by canister shot from cannons sighted on the south bank of the river. The Prussians prevailed in a terrific melee in which Marie was bayoneted 3 times and became a prisoner, semi-conscious from a wound. Charpentier barely escaped of similar fate. Amy assumed command of 4 battalions and led them in retreat across the river. 3 French battalions became trapped within the city, and expecting no quarter, they put up a bit of fight in the city streets. Some got away, but most were killed or captured. The French managed to set the bridge on fire, but the Prussian pioneers put out the blaze and made repairs. Results: Digby Smith stated that the French lost 500 killed and wounded plus 1,000 men and 14 guns captured out of a total of 4,000. The Prussians sustained losses of 600 killed and wounded out of 10,000 troops engaged. Charpentier's division included the 22nd Light and the 22nd, 51st, 55th, 102nd, 112th and 123rd Line Infantry regiments. Michael V, Legier asserted that the Prussians inflicted losses of 700 killed and wounded while capturing 1,024 French soldiers and 15 guns. 2 battalions of the 112th Line were virtually wiped out, with only 78 men escaping. Legier also reported the total French loss as almost 1,500. The Prussians were disorganized by the triumph and suffered about 700 casualties. Thumann's brigade reported losses of 245 officers and men. The badly injured Charpentier was replaced in command of the 31st Division by Breyer, while Jean-Raymond Charles Burke took over the 35th Division. As soon as the bridge was usable, Bülow sent Oppen with 3 cavalry regiments and a horse artillery battery after the French. Amy's retreating soldiers met Bigray's 1st Brigade at Elst, where Oppen's troopers found French infantry in position behind the Rhine River, and the pursuit ended. MacDonald fell back and redeployed his troops to hold the line of the Waal. Bülow moved west to Utrecht, which he occupied on the 2nd of December, and paused to consider his next move. 2 days later, an 8,000-strong British expedition under Thomas Graham, 1st Baron Lindert, landed in the Netherlands. To his annoyance, Bülow found the newly liberated Dutch people unwilling to volunteer for military service. A cache of 25,000 British muskets intended to arm the Dutch were used to equip the Westphalian land, where instead, Bülow was also disappointed with Wintzingerode, whose 18,000 soldiers remained completely inert in Germany. Because Bernadotte appropriated some of his units, Wintzingerode stubbornly refused to support the invasion of Holland, even recalling some of Benkendorf's Cossacks. The duplicitous Bernadotte did not help the situation by issuing ambiguous and conflicting orders. Bülow wished to use Borstel's troops for field operations, but until Wintzingerode's Russians finally arrived at the end of December, the 5th Prussian Brigade was tied to the blockade of Wesel. Forces